Hey everybody, look at this. I'm Sarah, the Real Simple Mama, and these, I guess, are my chickens. What's up, Blue? And what I wanted to do, because it is freaking hot here in South Texas, the humidity has been way worse than normal. I have a very cheap, actually really entertaining way for you to keep your chickens cool. It costs less than 10 bucks. It's super, super low maintenance, and it's really entertaining. So I'm filling up their pool. And this is just another, like I was saying, just a cheap, easy way to help keep your chickens cool when it's hot. So their pool is almost filled up, and then I'm gonna go shut the hose off. But there are a couple of different things you can do with a kid's swimming pool. I'm in South Texas, like I said. For me, when it gets over 90 degrees outside is when I know my chickens are probably gonna be panting, they're probably gonna be hot. Now they have a fan that's actually usually on high. I turned it down because of the noise factor. But they have a fan that's on. They have their mister that I could put on a timer. I'll show you some other strategies just kind of as a recap, but this is going to be really fun. The water has been shut off, but I wanted to show you really quick just another thing where it's like I want to help my chickens. I want to do what I can for my chickens, but I have to leave the house, or I have young children that I'm taking care of, or I just have a life, or I'm afraid I'm going to forget. This looks super complicated, but it's really cheap and it's really easy. And wow, I'm not actually that white. That was weird. Okay, so we've got... These are two separate devices, and there's a 4-zone thing that comes onto your spigot off the wall, and then this is an actual timer. So we only have one working hose right now, so we are only using zone 1. If I want to manually use it whenever I want to, I just turn that knob over to 3 o'clock, and then that hose will run. So I'm never touching the spigot up here. And I paid full price for this. This is not like an advertisement or anything. But then the timer that I use for their hose and for their mister is this timer, and it looks really confusing, but basically all I did is it just mounts over here on the side. And if I want to turn on the hose, you see it says zone 1 for 10 minutes, and I don't touch anything else, and then it'll turn on. And it'll run for 10 minutes. And I'm going to shut it off. But that's what I do with this one hose that I can either use as a hose to water my plants and fill up their water and all that stuff, fill up their swimming pool, or I just switch the head of it, and I'll show you how I do that. I switch the head of it and then stick it on the mister. I have a little connector, and it's a 2-piece set, and I don't know what it's called, but it's amazing. And this is my, my sprinkler hose. So I have this gold piece, and then it just latches on and off to my hose. So instead of like screwing pieces on and off of my hose all the time, which drives me crazy, it's just a very, very simple method. So I'll hook it up to the mister here in a little bit. But they've got their mister, they've got a fan, they've got tons of shade, but still, I mean, it's hot and they're panting. And so just a really, really quick recap. You could tell your chickens are hot for a couple of ways. Number one, the most basic thing is they start panting, their mouth is open. Of course, they cannot sweat. So panting is the first sign. The second sign is you'll see their comb and wattles and their coloring just start to get pale. They'll get pale. Especially Lacey and Gracie, my two girls who are black and white, and they're two different breeds, but they'll start to get a little bit pale. Not completely pale, but I can tell they're not that bright, beautiful red. They turn a little bit pink. When they're really, really hot, they're going to be breathing fast, mouth open, the color's going to be pale, and they might be sticking their wings out of their body, like it looks like they're trying to air out like their wing pits, if you will. That's another sign that your bird is way too hot. By the time they're panting, you need to be doing something to try to cool them down. Now, unfortunately, my chickens, like some of your birds, like I know Nikki has had to like physically grab her birds and like put them in the water to cool them down, because it's like, dude, I'm giving you ice, I'm giving you fans, I'm giving you shade, but you're just stupid and you're not cooling yourself down. So you may have to do something a little bit more deliberate, like I am going to pick you up and I'm going to put you in the water to make sure you don't get too hot, you stupid. So here's the deal, and just like my birds are demonstrating, going back to the actual swimming pool thing, chickens, the fastest way to get chickens or any kind of poultry, turkey, quail, peacock, whatever, the fastest way to cool them down is to cool down their feet and their legs, because that's really the only part of their body other than their face where it's just exposed skin. You don't have layers of feathers. And remember, like all of my chickens, all of the smooth feathers that are up on the top, 3/4 of their body, those are all waterproof feathers. Because I used to be like, oh, wet birds, ha ha ha, and I would like spray them with the hose and they would shake it off, and it's like, oh, well crap, that didn't help them at all. Now, if you get their feathers, the fluffy ones that are down like around their vent area and like down on their belly, those are not waterproof, the little fluffy ones. These down here are not, sorry, Flopsy. These are not waterproof. But the other ones, the big, long, smooth ones, those are all waterproof. So basically you've got to get the bottom half of your bird wet. And that is just the same as us, you know, cooling off a pulse point or something like that. It's where their veins are closest to the surface of the skin. It'll cool them off the most quickly. Now see, Blue's not too hot. She's fine. Yes. So there's a couple different things you can do with the swimming pool. This one is the smallest size that they offer at Walmart, and I'll be honest, I hate Walmart, but I did get this $6 pool there. They have 2 other larger sizes that go up to, like, I think a max of 15 bucks. But this one is probably 2.5 feet across, and I mean, for chickens, you know, it serves its purpose. I can use it for my kids' birthday parties, whatever. So there's a couple of different things you can do. The most obvious thing is to put water in it, but your chickens aren't going to be like, ah, what a great opportunity to cool off and jump in. They probably won't. Chickens do float, by the way, so unless they just fall in and they can't right themselves, there is always the risk of, you know, of a chicken drowning. That's terrible, but it happens to a couple of birds every season on our backyard forums. They fall into a deep water trough or whatever, but if a bird can right themselves, a chicken will naturally float just like a duck. And you can go watch YouTube videos of it because it's hilarious. So that's the basic thing. Just put water in there. It's another opportunity for them to drink. You can see those weird white things that are in there. Those are frozen water bottles. It's a water bottle that's full of water, and then I freeze it, and it turns, you know, obviously it's like a big gigantic ice cube. So I have a section in my deep freezer that's just for chicken stuff, and that way I don't have to worry about, you know, it has dirt on it or whatever. It's on the chicken shelf. It doesn't matter. So I threw a couple of those in there to cool down the water, but here's the problem. The chickens are still not getting in the water. They may lean over and drink a little bit of it, but I can't get them in there. So now you have a couple of more choices, and this is the fun part. Choice number 1, which is not super fun, is for you to grab your bird and physically put them in there. Now, I'm not talking about like dunking the bird, like we're not like hazing the chickens. I'm talking about getting their feet wet, getting their legs wet, and making them just freaking stand there for a minute. And if they drink, great. If they don't, whatever, because the point is you're trying to cool them down. Unfortunately, I can't tell you, like, hey, if you do that a couple of times, the chicken will make the connection. I felt cooler. You know what I mean? Like, it's not really something where you may be able to teach them to do it themselves. They still may always hate the water, and they still may never jump in there, but it's an option for you that, you know, should be fairly painless to just, like, hold them in there and stand them in there. A side note, if you're trying to clean your chicken's feet or you're trying to check for bumblefoot, I have done a series of videos because right when I got her, she had double bumblefoot, and I didn't want to do an operation on her. It's basically like a staph infection, like an infected cut on the bottom of their foot. I would stand her and hold her in a bowl that basically had water and Epsom salt, and I just stood her in there, and it was just kind of like, And once the bird is standing there, when their feet feel a solid surface, usually they're okay and they will chill out. But you just hold them there and cool them down. The other thing you can do to encourage your chickens to drink more and to maybe even get in the water is throw a treat into the pool. Now, it doesn't matter if it's something that sinks or floats. Your chickens will attempt to get it either way. But I would suggest it be something that, number 1, isn't going to rot or get gross really quickly. And number 2, that's not crap, to be honest. Because chickens their bodies heat up when they eat. So your chickens will always eat more in the winter, because that's essentially how they keep the little furnaces going. They're having to put more fuel in. Basically, when they are digesting something, that makes their body temperature go up. So I don't want to give them, you know, something that's not really healthy for them, or, you know, something that's going to be causing more problems than it's worth. So the goal is, I'm not trying to get them to eat a whole bunch in the heat of the day, because that's counterintuitive, but it's what can I do to entice them to try to drink more, to maybe, oops, they fell in the pool, haha, that was the plan all along. So I like to give them, I'll tell you, I don't give them corn, I don't give them scratch at all, or it's called like chicken crack, because in my opinion, it doesn't really have a lot of stuff that's beneficial for them. They love to eat it, but health-wise, it doesn't really do a lot for them. It's like us eating a ton of sugary vegetables or like starchy stuff, like us eating a lot of potatoes. It doesn't really do anything for you. So I'm going to be using protein snacks. That's going to mean either mealworms, fly grubs. My girls are obsessed with the fly grubs. I think they hold up a lot better than the mealworms. I've done a review video if you want to see that. Or a kind of seed. Black oil sunflower seeds. Niger seeds are really small, but they work. And you do not have to shell them. So there's the new bag of seed. You do not have to shell them. You can give them to them just like that, and they will swallow them whole. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to get the hose out of there and hook that up to their mister and show you how that works. And I'm going to throw some seeds in there, and we're going to watch what the chickens do. So I would love if somebody actually fell in. But if not, just to get them drinking more water. Here's my connection. So this is the mister. This is my hose. This whole piece right here that's golden black is the connector. To switch pieces, all I do, and I can't do it with one hand, but all I do is pull it down, and it disconnects. So this is just a hose connector. It comes with an attachment for each of your hoses or misters or sprayers or whatever, and then basically they just click together, and it's amazing. All right, so now the fun part. So I've got sunflower seeds. And they know. Uh-huh. So I'm not going to put a ton in there. But the goal is to get the birds. Drinking water would be great. Falling in the pool would be better. And they may perch on the end of the pool. They can, you know, they have these little ramps and things that they can stand on. A couple of them fell on the ground, of course, but that'll be done pretty quick. Oh man, she almost fell in. Now, I will tell you also, if you are encouraging your chickens to drink more water, whether you, like I have a ton of ideas. I have other videos about how to keep your chickens cool. Ooh, ooh, ooh. I want to like get a stick and like knock her in the water. Whoops. Oh, oh, that's twice. Oh, dang it. That was exciting. If you're giving your chickens more water than normal or more treats that are encouraging them to peck at ice or drink water, they're having more water in their system than normal, right? So they may have watery droppings. Their poop may be more liquid than normal. I would not freak out about that. If you are giving them something that's high water quantity, like that has a high percentage of water. Oh, 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 oh. She got her butt wet. I need to have just like a wildlife camera out here 24/7 with chicken shenanigans. But if you give them watermelon, like I know I've advised a couple of you on this, it's just like with humans. You don't want to eat a lot of watermelon every day because it's like a diuretic. So your chickens, whoop, they're getting daring, look at this. So your chickens may have more watery droppings. Like if I do this every couple of days with the treats, I know they're drinking more water than normal because they're getting a little bit of water when they peck the seeds, right? It's going to affect their poop a little bit, so I would not freak out. If you are worried about it, if you think everybody's, you know, like, hey, I want to make sure, I want to play process of elimination, and you know how I am with collecting data and having information, then stop doing all of that, and within 24 hours, if that's all it was, then it'll resolve itself. Get it, girl? So we've got the mister hooked up that can be on my timer, right? So I just push the button once and I don't have to worry about a $500 water bill for some birds. I've got their fan, but the fun part for today was the swimming pool. So, you know, a gigantic bag of those black oil sunflower seeds, not like that, but one that's like 6 times that size is about 14 bucks. That pool was 6. So there you go. The ice bottles, you know, those are just old bottles that otherwise would have been recycled, but, you know, I'm reusing them, right? Which is the same concept. They've got plenty of shade. But everybody's drinking a little bit more water. They're in the shade right now. And, you know, if somebody falls in, I'll pretend it was an accident. But just a cute, fun idea. You can, it's in my other video too, but you can get like muffin tins and put frozen vegetables in the muffin tins and then fill it up with water and freeze them. And then you have like little, you know, basically like little frozen treat cakes. You can give that to them just on the ground and it'll melt into the ground, or you could put it in a bowl or in a pool like this. You know, you can freeze all kinds of stuff. I would not give them a lot of fruit. And I would try to stay away from the high sugar vegetables, which is mostly corn and peas. Your chickens don't need potatoes at all. They can't eat onions at all. But I mean, you know, tomatoes, carrots, squashes, leafy greens. I mean, you can freeze pretty much anything and just put it in small pieces, stick it in the muffin tin, fill it up with water, and then put your whole muffin tin in the freezer. And you've got little frozen cakes. But like I said, my I don't know what you would call it. I guess my point when I'm like, all right, I need to go out and do something is when the temperature hits 90 degrees, which today it hit 90 degrees before noon. And it's just humid as hell, guys. Like, I hate the humidity. I like the dry heat. I'm from Dallas. I can handle the dry heat. The humidity, like, it sucks. I don't like it. So I'm just doing everything I can for my birds. You know, you can't make them intelligent, so you may have to grab them and put them in the water. You may have to lock them up so that they stay in the shade with the fan. You know, do what you need to do. And we're talking improved egg production, of course, but also, I mean, the only 2 chickens that I have ever lost as far as them passing away, them dying, it was both heat related, and I will never forgive myself. So it's something I'm very passionate about. I want to get out here and give you as many ideas as possible. I've done a separate video on the mister before we even had it hooked up right here, but it goes all the way down their garden, all the way. This thing's like at least 20 feet long. But I have a separate video on misters, why I think they're a good idea, and some other considerations for chickens. But if there's anything I can do to help, if you have questions, clarifications, just put them in the comments. But it's just a fun idea for, you know, summer with chickens. And I'm Sarah, the Real Simple Mama, and we're going to go get some wet chickens here.